Well, good afternoon, everybody. How are you all?
Afternoon.
I'm Lori K. Davis. I'm the Executive Director of the Commonwealth Institute South Florida, and we are a network of business and professional women, and we provide leadership development, high-level networking, and mentoring. It's all through our content-rich events and programs like Just Ask TCI. Anyhow, I want to welcome you all to Just Ask TCI, and this is intended to bring us all together. It's open to anyone in our community of women to bring us together and to learn from our experts. So welcome, everybody.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. For some reason, I see myself twice, but anyway, I'm Tammy Klein from Klein HR Solutions. I'm the owner and founder of a HR consulting company.
Great, thank you. Rochelle, you're up. Let me unmute you.
Michelle Broder Singer. I'm a writer and editor. I run RB Editing and Writing, and I apologize in advance. I am only here until 12:30.
We'll take as much of you as we can get. Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm the Marketing and Membership Manager of TCI.
Almost soon coming up on a year.
Yeah.
Next up, Heather Pendleton.
Hi, I'm Heather Pendleton from Clear Channel Outdoor. I'm an account executive there.
Gail Carson.
Hi, I'm Gail Carson, known as the SOB, the Spunky Old Broad. I do radio shows and I have online courses, and I'm the forum facilitator for the one of the not-for-profit groups.
And let's see, next I see Deb G.
Hi, this is Deb. I'm Deb Geratana. I work for Orion Integrated Systems, and I'm a smart home system seller. I sell the idea of smart home systems and talk about them to builders, architects, and designers, and I help them learn about them.
And is this your first time with us, Deb?
It is. Thank
Great.
you for having me.
Well, welcome. Cindy Jacobs.
Hi, Lori. I'm Cindy Jacobs. I'm an in-house attorney at Salesforce company named Velocity, and I'm Associate General Counsel, and it's nice to be here.
Thank you, Cindy. And a TCI member.
Yeah, I'm TCI.
And any news on a sale of a company yet?
Yep, June 1st.
All right. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Next, I see Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. Tiffany Lee. Whoops. We're not hearing you, Tiffany. Nope. Tell us who you are in the chat box, and then if we get your audio connected, we'll come back. Marianne.
Hi.
It is not John.
It's not John. You know what? I need to rename that. And he doesn't even own an iPad. So I don't know why it comes up with John Devine. But I'm Marianne Devine, and I'm a Senior Managing Director at Northern Trust.
Welcome. I see, and no picture, Patricia. Why do we not have a picture? Velocitas. There.
Hi. I've been having some glitches, so I think that no video actually helps without. Like, I don't know if you guys can hear me okay, but I was on a call yesterday and everybody was saying they couldn't hear me very well. So I think that the video might have something to do with it. Great. Well, thank you and welcome. Next up, I have Andrea.
Hi, sorry I got off accidentally. This is Andrea Greenspan. I am a member of TCI and a neighbor of Michelle Suskauer. I'm the owner and founder of AG Image Style and Brand, and I do virtual and in-person image style and brand consulting for individuals and corporations.
Thank you. Next up, Lydia.
Hi, I'm Lydia Munez, president of Live Your Dreams Company, and I specialize in helping nonprofits grow their board, grow their fundraising efforts, and overall service delivery.
Thank you. Adriana.
Yes, hi, I'm Adriana Chaquet from Chocolate Factory, and we are making chocolates for Administrative Assistant Day on April 22nd.
Thank you. And if you can come on and join us, if your camera works, come on in. I see, and I don't know how to pronounce it, Mafan. And Mafan, for some reason, I'm not able to unmute you. So Mafan Abia. There, I got you unmuted. Mafan, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great, please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Mfanabia. I'm a full-time mom. I moved from my country, Nigeria, to Miami. I don't have a job yet.
Well, welcome. And Tiffany put in our chat, partner in the Miami office of Holland and Knight. Next up, I have Maureen, and I'm not sure which Maureen I have there. It just says Maureen. Yep, go ahead.
Hi, it's Maureen Lyons, Northern Trust. I'm a senior investment advisor at Northern Trust. I'm having technical difficulties with my hair today, so that is why I am not.
All right, thank you, Maureen. Susan Snyder.
Hi, this is Susan Snyder. I'm with Panasonic in the Maritime Communications Division. My current role is I'm partnered with our sales team, acting from a program management and operations perspective.
Thank you, Susan. Olivia Rodriguez.
Hi, my name is Olivia Rodriguez. I am in-house managing counsel for Bupa Latin America.
And guest of who?
Of Cindy Jacobs.
Great. Now, thank you, Cindy, and thank you for joining us, Olivia.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to go alphabetically. That's easier for me on my experts. So first up, Laura, please, and of course you get more than name and title, and then Michelle, and then we'll go into our questions.
Okay, so I'm Laura Kaplan. Nice to meet everyone and see some of your faces. I'm a co-president with Lindy Smiley of TCI under Lori's great leadership. So Lori, thank you for pulling this together. Professionally, I'm a managing director at Bank of America Private Bank. And I run a team, I guess over $1 billion book of business with 8 teammates who serve our ultra high net worth clients all over the country. So I spend a lot of time from the time I started my career until now networking, whether it's a dirty word or a good word we'll talk about, but I love meeting people, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of my my secrets and learnings from you as well about what you're doing in the networking space. And I think in this virtual world, it's going to change for all of us. So that'll be a great discussion on how we continue to connect the dots for ourselves and other in a virtual space. So thank you, Lori, for putting this together, and I'm happy to answer questions and hear what everyone else has to say.
Yeah, that is going to be a different, whole new, different way of networking, and I'm really anxious to hear not only from my experts on your thoughts, but everyone's too on if they've already given thought to how they're going to pivot with that. Michelle Suskauer, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Right. I'm unmuted. Hello. There. I think my husband wants a mute button for me, but it's just not happening. So Lori, thank you so much for including me on this really exciting topic. I love this topic, and Laura and I have been working on this and brainstorming together, and hopefully we can have a fantastic discussion. I'm excited to see everybody, some people I know, and a lot of new faces, so that's great. I am a criminal defense attorney, and I am the managing partner of the West Palm office of Diamond, Kaplan, and Rothstein. And the Kaplan, yes, is Laura Kaplan's husband, Jeff. And please don't tell him that I'm sitting in his office right now in Miami. I promise I will wipe it down when I leave. I've been a criminal defense attorney for 29 years. And I'm the immediate past president of the Florida Bar. And that's how I know Lori, because I've been working with her incredible husband, Steve Davis, on the Board of Governors for, I guess, 11 or 12 years. And I guess I could say I am definitely a people person. So we definitely have some tips for everybody. My husband is a judge in the family division in Palm Beach County. And so he's dealing with his own challenges with technology right now and having virtual hearings and Zoom trials. So that's very different. And I have 2 kids, both of whom now are home. And Talia, who is 23, and Becca, who is 21. So thank you, and hi to everyone.
Great, and thank you for joining us. Okay, we're going to start with my first question, and Laura, we'll start with you, and then Michelle will give her response. First question, why do I need to network, and how do I get started?
Okay. So what I would say is, for me, networking is really just meeting people and understanding the community in which I'm living, and building sort of a network of people to either help me or my clients, or for me to be able to help them. But I think just knowing people, knowing who's doing what in a community, whatever that community might be, is just important. Putting yourself in sort of the environment in which you live and work, to understand how it all works and how it all integrates. So I think you need to network because you need to know how to get things done, not only for yourself, but for your kids, for your friends, for your life, for your business. Networking for me is about connecting the dots and making sense of the world around us. So I think of networking as not as a single point of contact or a single event. I think of it as a journey, not a destination. So for me, networking is part of my life. I don't think of it as networking for one purpose or another. I never know what an interaction with someone that I am quote unquote networking with is going to lead to. But for me, it doesn't matter. It's really not about the destination. It's about the journey.
Great, thank you. Michelle.
Sure. I think totally agree with everything that Laura said. You know, I think now more than ever, we realize that everything is about relationships. And, you know, and everything that we're going through right now, especially people that we can't actually physically touch, and we have to communicate virtually, and how we're all reconnecting now with people that are important to us. And that's a great way that we are actually networking. And so I think given that, why do we do this? We do this, you know, if we're new to the community, if we're new to our particular profession, maybe we've changed our focus or our angle or a completely different area of work. And it's also a way to jumpstart business. And so there are so many, I think the whole point is to be as open-minded and creative as you possibly can in building these relationships and being patient, because this, as Laura said, it is a journey. And it is building blocks in your community, and your communities you have so many communities that you belong to. And that's sort of, we have to maybe look at ourselves from a 30,000 foot view and see all the different communities that we are part of and how they all intersect. So that's sort of the little intro to it.
Great, thank you. So Michelle, we're going to start with you on the next question. And if you have anything to add, those of you, please feel free. I'll try to watch raise your hand. Everyone knows where that function raise hand down on your toolbar is, so we know you have something to say. Or you could probably catch my attention if you held your hand up this way long enough. Okay, Michelle, next question. What are the characteristics of a great networker, and what skills do I need to develop to be one?
So, you know, I think you have to be a very good listener. Sometimes we have a tendency to talk and talk and talk, and then we maybe forget to ask questions and listen. And so I think that's a very, very important piece. Having that, you know, being able to be a self-starter and having that drive and that energy to want to do it. And as I said just before, being creative, networking, especially now, and I know we're going to talk about that later in terms of, you know, what we're in right now with this global pandemic. It's to be creative, and what may have worked in terms of in-person networking events is going to be very different in moving forward, at least for the foreseeable future. So those are some of the things that I think are important. And also finding, being able to find commonality with the person that you're speaking to.
Yeah.
Great. Laura.
So I would agree with everything that Michelle said. I would add that you really, to be a great networker, you have to be generally interested in the people that you're meeting. And I think that you have to be also thoughtful about the people that you're meeting. You have to be thoughtful about who they are, what they do. Your conversations have to be relevant. And I think you have to be really thoughtful about what you're trying to learn about them and what you want them to learn about you. So I don't think of it as being contrived, but I just think of it as you don't want to waste people's time and you don't want them to waste your time. So I think you have to be really careful and strategic and thoughtful about who you're meeting, why you're meeting them, what you can do for them, and what they can do for you, and sort of draw, as Michelle said before, you know, draw those connections early for people, and let them tell you who they are and what they want you to know about them, so that you can remember them, and so you can find out whether or not that interaction and that networking is relevant.
Great. Next question. And Laura, you get to start. What are your top tips for successful networking? And we covered a little bit in the first question, but top tips.
You know, I think, and Michelle and I talked a lot about this, I think you have to be methodical. I think you have to be focused. I think you have to put yourself, if I want new clients, I'm not necessarily networking along a group of bankers. You know, I'm not going to a group of people who all do the same thing as I do. I'm trying to find the people that I find interesting. I'm trying to get to those same events that those people are going to, and I'm trying to learn what they're learning and what they find important. And so I would say that it's really important to just, you know, more of what we said before, but just, you know, be methodical, be focused, know what you want to learn about each person, know what you want them to learn about you, and don't go where everyone else is going. You know, try the road less traveled. There's nothing worse, I'd say, of going to a gala and having 15 of the same people who do what you do sitting in the same room, you know, all going after the same clients. It starts to get icky. So for me, I try to do things differently.
I completely agree. And when we were discussing and preparing for this, I try to go to events as a criminal defense lawyer where I'm the only criminal defense lawyer in the room. I'm not going to be networking with other criminal defense lawyers. That doesn't mean that I'm not friends with them, and I may do other things with them. But if I'm really trying to establish myself within a community, I want to be the only one there if possible. And so it's thinking outside the box in terms of looking for those other events, whether it's religious groups or social organizations or trade organizations, but being unique, like Laura said. And then top tip is follow up, follow up, follow up. And you have to be really careful about how you follow up. And you don't want to be, you know, a bother, a pest, annoying. You have to know your audience in terms of how you follow up. And a lot of it is trial and error. Nobody is the perfect networker, you know, right out of the box. If you are, that's great, but you are in the minority. This is a process, and you learn and you tweak and you change based on who you're with, who you are, and where you are in your life.
Thank you.
Yep.
Michelle, next question. Do we have any hands raised? Okay, next question. I'm an introvert and would rather be home than out and about. How can I psych myself up to go to a networking event? And that's your first part of this. And then the second part is, what are your top 3 networking tips for introverts?
Wow. Well, first of all, we're definitely not talking about you. But you are not alone in feeling that way. Not everyone is an extrovert. Just because you go to an event, you need to know that there are a lot of people that are very uncomfortable. And so what can you do? First of all, I say own it. Absolutely own it. And it makes other people feel comfortable too when you do that. I'm pretty self-deprecating anyway. I'll make fun of myself nonstop. But I think you have to say, oh my gosh, I've never gone to one of these, or I'm uncomfortable, or but you could definitely say, you could definitely own that. And you have to muster the gumption to get yourself out there and realize that you will get more comfortable as you go, as you learn about yourself, and as you learn about other people. And it really is an opportunity for you to grow. Now, given what's going on now with things being virtual, I think this is a haven for introverts. And it will be a lot easier for introverts to network when we're doing this on social media and, by Zoom.
Yeah, I love that perspective. So when I think about introverts, I mean, I don't think of an introvert as someone who doesn't like people, right? And I don't think of an introvert as someone who doesn't like to network. I really think of it as a person who gets their energy from being by themselves versus, being from other people, or getting energy from themselves versus other people. So I think what's important is that you don't burn yourself out, that you plan for it, that you take the time for yourself before you go to these events to get your energy, and you get there and you realize that it's what is a networking? Let's say you're talking about a networking event. That's a big room full of people, so you find one or two, and you spend that quality time one-on-one or one-on-two. And if big, huge events aren't for you, don't do them. There's plenty of other ways to network than be in a huge room full of people. For me, I'm probably an ambivert, right in the middle. I tend to take groups of 4 or 5 people together that I think have some commonality. I find a speaker for them and I take them out to lunch. There's already a topic set. I introduce them to people that they want to know and that I want them to know, and I keep it small, intimate, relevant, thoughtful, and I try to give back, right? Whether it's through those introductions to them or through getting to know a speaker in a more intimate level that maybe I have access to that they didn't, or that they didn't know. But being an introvert versus being an extrovert, I think it's just where you're getting your energy. So use your energy and spend it wisely. Bouncing around from person to person in a big room may not be your thing. So go to that same event and find 1 or 2 people, and keep moving on. But I don't think it changes whether or not you can network, whether you're an introvert or extrovert. It's just finding your comfort zone.
And in the chat, Rochelle says, TCI events are a great way for an introvert to network in her experience, because it's generally a smaller group and usually a learning experience of some type. So there's a topic to start with. Thank you, Rochelle, for putting that up there. We didn't pre-plan that either. Okay, our next question. Please give us some examples of really good conversation starters. And Laura, we start with you.
Okay. So, it depends. I say networking happens wherever we are. So I'll give you an example of being at a wedding or a bar mitzvah or a christening. The first, how are you connected to this person, this organization? How did you get here? What's your connection? So first, sort of level setting and figuring out who someone is and how they're involved, right? It also sets the stage for what kind of conversations you can have. I say things like, tell me about your family, tell me about your business. And I think, like Michelle and I have both said, it's really about finding out about that person. So it's not about dropping some, quirky line about who you are and what you do. And I like, the elevator speeches are great when you know what you want to say, but I think it's about finding that person, making the connectivity, and just having a conversation starter that's relevant for the moment. What about you, Michelle?
I think that absolutely that's what, and Laura, you're so good at that. You really are. And I just, I try to throw it right over to the other person, and I usually find something that they're wearing, and it's just a genuine compliment, like, oh, those are, I mean, that's the way I like, great shoes. Okay. Where did you get those? Or, or something like that. And I think something that's light, but always genuine, but something that's light and funny and gets people talking about them. Maybe they're wearing something unusual, or it's a great color for them or something. That's kind of what I gravitate toward in terms of kind of getting that started. So
right, great glasses, Michelle.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, I think it really depends on your personality. When I walk away from a meeting with someone, I really want to know who they are. I want to know about their kids. I have 2 kids at Ransom Everglades. I have a 9th grader, an 11th grader. I have an 8-year-old in 2nd grade in a public school. As soon as I start telling someone those facts, we start to find connectivity. They say, how are you surviving homeschooling? And I say, I'm hiding in my closet, as you can see. It just gives you something to talk about and a reference point. And I think the more you have to figure out for yourself what you're going to remember about people, so that you know what questions to ask, so that when you leave that event, it'll resonate with you, and you'll be able to follow up, as Michelle said too. Follow up. Right. Like having those points to follow up with are really important.
Thank you. Michelle, we are now in the midst of we'll start with you. We're now in the midst of social distancing. How can I best network virtually? And what are some proven tips? Well, we haven't really been in COVID all of that long, but what are some proven tips to network remotely in light of COVID-19?
Well, and we've been talking about this, throughout all of our answers so far. We are all learning, and things are changing, day by day, hour by hour, and will continue as things start slowly opening up. It's just going to be a very, very long process. But the thing is, we are all in this together. To talk about global networking, this is as common an experience as the world has ever seen. This is affecting all of us in every aspect, everyone around the world. So talk about a conversation starter. I mean, this is it. And this could be your conversation starter for the longest time. And, for those of us who have young kids, my kids are older, who are already out of the house, young kids, how are you dealing with this? How are you dealing with, working, cooking, cleaning, are you doing this? What precautions are you taking? It's a common experience. For me, my kids were out, and I have one in college, and who knows when that's going to start up again. That's common. My other daughter was on a national tour for musical theater, and talking about, like, when are we going to start going to sports and theater, etc. again. So I think that right away is this common experience that we all have, and it's creative. I don't know about you all, but I have been reconnecting with so many different groups, and every time you do that, that's networking. Whether it's for me, different groups of different lawyers, or even like high school friends that are all over the country, or family. And so I think that this is a great opportunity to do these Zoom calls because I think it's different when you actually can see each other, right? And see expressions and talk about things. So I think that's. I think we're all coming up with all these different ways that we can do that. But it's really, really hard to not be able to press the flesh, right? And be in person. That's why seeing each other, I think, is, doing that is probably the best possible way that we can reconnect.
Yeah. And what I agree with Michelle completely. What I add is, in this world of Zoom, what's right, what's not right. Is it okay when the kids are crawling all over you, or you're sitting in a closet? I'm not sure. I think my mantra is just to be real throughout this process, and reconnect to people that you really care about, and find as my daughter is walking in. Excuse me, Jill, I'll be right back.
Hey.
But you know, I think the idea now is just to reconnect with as many people as you can, however you can. Jilly, hold on. Oh, she's hiding behind my chair. See, it's very real here. I would just say just reconnect with whomever you can, however you can. Use Zoom. I'm having people set up calls for college, high school, trips that I've taken. You know, we had an extended family cousin call with 200 people. We had a lawyer in our family who lives in New York who I've never met set up a call because she wanted to get to know us and see what we're doing. She's networking, right? She's networking right in her own backyard. I mean, how smart is that? So I say use Zoom as a tool. Get yourself connected with people that you already know. Everyone's looking for a way to reconnect, and any way that you can help facilitate that is helpful.
That's right. People are eager for connections. And so I saw Andrea's comment. Absolutely. People are eager for connections. Also, because this is a platform that maybe many of us really haven't been, using daily and being that comfortable, you really need to learn how to use it and use it well, because it does some really cool things. And so I would, definitely take the time to figure this out, so you could use it and be as effective a networker as you can be.
Yeah, Zoom has some really, really great tutorials, and there, if you have a Zoom account, you can actually get live help from them, and besides live tutorials.
Yeah, by the way, Lori, I'm loving your background on Zoom.
Oh, can everyone see?
Yeah, that's fantastic. You got to figure out how to do that.
Oh, I love that.
I'll teach you.
Thank you.
Laura.
Yeah, I need to be taught too.
Okay, we'll have our own separate session.
Okay.
So, it was really interesting that instead of the word network, you're using the word connect. And that made me, because networking to me, and Michelle, thank you for thinking I'm an extrovert. I am not. And networking was always like, oh no. But connecting, that word is much easier for me to, instead of going to, just thinking of it as connecting and not networking. Right. Yep. Okay, next question. Laura, we'll start with you. I had a nice conversation with a potential client at an event. What do you suggest as the appropriate follow-up? And now it might be not so relevant, but you might be at a virtual event in a breakout room.
Yeah, no, exactly. So what I would say is, just follow up. Follow up, as Michelle says, follow up, follow up, follow up. Follow up with a note, tell them how nice it was to meet them, reference something that they said to you or that you learned from them that made you think. I try to find news articles or something that I think would be relevant for them and share it with them. I try to show them that they're now on my mind. They're part of my world, and I try to connect them with information that I see that's relevant. I have people that I've met at events for years that I connect with for years and years, and until the opportunity comes up where they need something from me. It's a journey, it's a destination, but you have to follow up, and you have to want that person in your world. And I think it has to be, you can't network and you can't follow up for the sake of just doing it. With empty promises. The worst thing you can do is send an email and say, let's get together for coffee, and never connect. So don't say it unless you mean it, but definitely send the follow-up, and then do what you say you're going to do, I think is the most important thing. And don't spread yourself, I'd say, too thin. When you come back from an event and you have a whole stack of cards, I would say sort them out, figure out who you really want to stay connected to, who you want to be part of your community and your network, and then follow up with them. But every once in a while I'll go to an event, it's as if somebody took 50 cards and they send the same email to all of us, and I can't help but delete it because I know that it didn't feel genuine. They're doing what they thought they were supposed to do, was to reconnect and follow up with me, but to me that's not really follow up. If you say you're going to do something, do it, and write the email to me. So you also have to remind that person who you are. And maybe something that you might have said that would have triggered something for them. So those are my pieces of advice for follow up. Michelle?
Right. I mean, she said it all. I think that I really also there are times when I've met folks at an event and then they're like completely hound me. like hound. And another thing is, or they've added me to like their newsletter, or it's like a constant thing. It's too much. And I think, again, knowing your audience is super important. And also, I've also gotten those sort of, they clearly met me with 500 other people. And so that's just, you might as well not even send an email like that, because it has the opposite effect. When we're all sort of on the other side of this, meeting for coffee is a great thing. You don't have, it's not you're not overcommitting with a lunch or a dinner. Coffee is short, and that's nice. So yeah, I think now a virtual coffee, hey, let's meet for coffee at 10:30. I'll have my coffee, you have your coffee, and we'll Zoom for a few minutes, and even if you're not talking about business and you're just sort of, bitching, that's it. Again, you're building relationships. That's the key.
Right. Anyone else have anything that they want to add that's worked for them before we move on to the next question?
One thing that my team is doing, I'm not sure who came up with it, but they're doing virtual happy hours. Today they're doing at 4 o'clock, they're doing mandatory meeting at 4, but you have to wear a Hawaiian shirt, which I thought was
I love it.
Right.
No, so I had a Zoom call the other night with a couple of my girlfriends. One's a judge and a couple other lawyers. And I know this is silly, okay? But again, we're also stressed out. Everyone needed to wear an accessory. Of course, I wore a tiara, but everyone had to wear everyone had to have an accessory. And it was just, but we are networking, because we have a whole cross referral thing going on where we all do try to help each other. So it's good to have fun and blow off steam.
Absolutely.
So I like that.
And Andrea says,
I would just say, in this world though, you have to stay somewhat positive, because I hate to say it, but no one wants to be on a call with someone who's complaining every day. We're all in this together. But like attracts like, and if you're going to be the one that's complaining every day about everything, you're going to attract those people. And if that, you have to think long term about who you're going to want in your world. Stay positive as much as you can.
And Andrea added a comment on personalizing follow-up is a good indicator of your focus and intention.
Good point.
Okay, next question, and Michelle, we'll start with you. How do you turn a friend or acquaintance into a client? What are some tips for selling yourself to those in your community? And what's the best way to target potential organizations or communities where networking might bring clients? So that's all one question from one person. A lot of things there.
Okay.
All right. Take it in whatever order you want.
I'm gonna chunk it up here. Okay. Friends become clients because they trust you and they love you and you're in their lives. They certainly, I certainly know that if I needed something, I would go to a friend who is, the banker, or who is the dentist, and who is the physical therapist. I want to, because I know I'm going to get special treatment. So I don't know if you have to really sell yourself where you're turning a friend into a client. If you are, the next question was, what are the tips for selling yourself if you have, worked hard in your area of the world, whether you're an attorney or a psychologist or a social worker, whatever you are, you are the expert. People may ask you, there's so many people who have called me because they want me to talk to their kids who are going away to college, because they don't want them to get in trouble. And so, you become the expert in the community. Another way is to write articles, have an online newsletter, get yourself, e-published or on television as an expert, if you can do that, and making connections that way, because you're holding yourself out as the expert in the community, and then targeting particular communities. For example, in over 55 communities, they are constantly looking for speakers, constantly looking for speakers for every topic in the world. And so again, you have to think about your target audience and who you want to quote unquote market yourself to. But that's another way to do that, because people are always looking for speakers. The local Florida Association for Women Lawyers chapter has been doing these, and I think this is something that happens a lot of places in a lot of different areas of profession. Tables for 8, which are these small, like Laura was talking about, intimate little groups where you sit around, you have that great food, drink, and you're talking about a particular topic. And so, those are, I don't know if I answered all of those questions because there were so many, but Laura?
Right. No,
you did a good job. I think it really depends on your profession, right? And what you're doing and whether or not you can sell yourself and whether or not friends want to work with you or not. So for me in private banking, it's, it's sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes my friends don't want me to know their personal information. Sometimes they, do or don't. It just really depends. So for me, I have found success lately with selling the team. I try not to sell as much myself, but I try to sell my team or the organization that I'm working for. So I might say something like, it sounds like you could really use some help from some of the people on my team. Let me bring you in and introduce you. It softens it a little bit, so it's not a direct, I'm your friend and I'm trying to, because if they say no, they don't want to ruin the friendship, right? If they're interviewing 6 banks, you want to be in the mix, but you want to make sure that, they're not worried that if it's not the right fit for them, that it's going to be a personal issue. So I sell my team, and I spend a lot of time selling my team. And even if it's something that I can't handle, or if a client a family that I don't want to work with, I might introduce them to another teammate and still stay involved, out of, behind the scenes. So I think there's a lot of ways to turn an acquaintance or a client or a friend into a client, but you have to think through the angle and how best to approach it. So yes, it's not easy, but I struggle with that every day because I live in a community where everybody wants to bank my friends, and yet, they're my friends. And then you say to yourself, do I want them as clients? It's difficult.
Right. I totally agree with you. And then there's the other part of it, which is, you don't ask, you don't get. And you have, it's a balance. It really is a balance, because, with connections that I have with lawyers all over the state, I always tell my friends, listen, if you need a referral for someone, for anyone, for anything, for any type of an attorney, let me know. I have, I'll point you in the right direction. I'm not saying hire me because they know I have a particular specialty. But I think it's also, sometimes, especially as women, we don't want to promote ourselves as much for whatever reason. We're not good self-promoters. And I think we also have to balance that. Men don't seem to have a problem with that, but, I think we have to, we're good at what we do. Whatever it is we do, we're good at it. And there's no reason to not discuss that and talk about it and feel confident in it, because the work is important. We want the work.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. And our last question, and then we'll open it up if there are any additional questions from the floor, so to speak. If you do not know who is going to attend the event, how do you know who to approach? And Laura, we'll start with you.
I think that you, many times you can get a list of who's going to be at the event, or you can get a list of who the membership is for that organization. If you don't know who's going to be there or why they're going to be there, then there's probably not a huge point of being there yourself. So I would say, make sure the event is relevant. Make sure you know why you're going. Make sure have an idea of who you hope to see there. But to go to an event for the sake of going to an event to hopefully meet somebody, time is valuable. So I think that you need to pre-screen the events that you go to. I think you need to have a sense of who you think might be there, and then look for them. And then ask people, oh, have you seen so-and-so? And if they say, oh, no, he's not coming today, and then, then you start talking to that person. But I think you have to, I've made the mistake in my career of spreading myself way too thin for periods of time, going to events just because I don't want to miss out and I don't know who might be there. And I think what I have found over the years is that that's not a great use of time. It's not a great use of energy, and it defeats the purpose of networking to build your world. So I'd say be strategic, be thoughtful. Time is a really valuable resource, and you don't want to burn yourself out. And to be very, very thoughtful about the events that you're attending, why you're attending them. If you're not going there to learn something, you're only going there to meet someone, figure out, you should know before you go who's going to be there.
I would just say, if you can talk to the organizer of the event to get sort of a sense, that's great. Or someone who is a member of that particular group, or if you can look online, and if there are some groups, not all of them, but there are some groups that list membership, that's a great way of doing it. But everything that Laura said, I agree with.
And I spend a lot of time, and I know Michelle spends a lot of time, mentoring some of the younger people around me. And I'll sit down with them and say, what are you interested? Who are you? Where do you want to spend your time? In 10 years from now, what kind of people do you want to fill your life? And then we might brainstorm on some of the organizations that they might want to be involved with, or that I suggest they go check out to see who the people are and whether or not they have connectivity. So I would say be as true to yourself as you possibly can, because talk about an energy suck. There's nothing worse than going into a room full of people that you have nothing in common with, that don't really, feel comfortable with or understand what you're going to get out of it. So, be selective with your time, be selective with your network, be thoughtful, be methodical, and have a genuine interest in it. Otherwise, you can't sustain it. If you don't like animals, don't get involved with the animal humane society.
There are so many organizations that you can be involved with, and when you really have a passion for it, that shows.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely use your time wisely, because our time is very precious.
Right. Thank you. I have a hand raised from Patricia, an actual hand.
Yeah, sorry everyone, but I had technical difficulties. I finally found a good spot in my house that everything sounds okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, it's much clearer.
So for those who don't know me, I'm Patricia Beitler. I have a marketing and PR agency, Velocitas, and I work with a lot of attorneys and nonprofits and healthcare. And I'm a big networker. I've been networking for 20 years, and it's very natural. However, this Zoom thing, and I have an IT background, I had asked that question and then my computer got discombobulated. So do you guys have any tips on that? Because I think when in person, obviously you could be like, I love your shoes, you could schmooze in a different way. But like, this is challenging, and the reality is that we're going to be in it for at least a few weeks or longer. We don't really know. So I'd love to know some tips and tricks for networking on Zoom.
Well, again, we're all learning, right? So, but I think you want your background. Sorry, and now I just have to delete my husband calling. You want your background to not be distracting, just in terms of you don't want to be moving. If you're doing something, you sort of want to be sitting. You want the focus to be on you as opposed to any distractions. We can only do what we can do. If we're in a house with kids and dogs and all that stuff, then it is what it is, and you use that. But if there's any way to get some quiet time, even just to sit outside while craziness is inside, then I think you want to try, if you're going to be doing marketing, you're going to do your best to focus and minimize the distractions as much as possible, if possible.
Yeah, no, what I'm referring to, like trying to connect, like for us, for example, right? Like it'd be ideal if we could all connect, like if we were all in a boardroom somewhere. I mean, obviously we could brainstorm together because we just started doing this, but I think it would be great to find a way for us to actually really all be able to connect here. You know what I mean? Even, maybe some of us you're having a bad hair day, hey, who cares, you know? we'll make it work. But I think that it would be beneficial for us to find a way, you know,
so Patricia, there are, first of all, if somebody doesn't have I have my virtual background set, but I always like, Laura as an example, a conversation starter would be, oh my God, you know, where are you working from? And that would connect, because then I'd know the story that she's got her whole office set up in her closet kind of thing. You know, something, I've been on some Zoom calls where someone comments on, I love your background. What is that? And then it goes into, oh, it's a piece of art. It's not a background. It's not a photo background. So I'm actually looking at, and of course you can't do that when someone chooses their photo virtual background, but what is their background? And to Michelle's point, if I see a dog, you know, in the room, I'll ask about the animal and those kinds of things for a connection. And another way to use Zoom, if you're not familiar with it and you do have a group and you want to do, like it was intended to meet people, you go into breakout rooms and the leader of the group can send someone, say you're in a virtual happy hour and well, let's spend some one-on-one time, or three people. You can just randomly put the whole group in different breakout rooms, or you can pre-assign. So those are just some different kinds of functions in using Zoom too.
So, and what I'll add is, you know, I'm new to Zoom. Lori's been amazing with Zoom for a very long time because she's been working virtually for a long time. But what I, as a new person to Zoom, first of all, I realized that you can sign up for a membership, which allows you to talk for more than an hour. If you don't have a membership, it cuts you off before an hour. So it's not expensive. That's the first thing I would do, is sign up. And then the second thing I would do is, you know, I'm starting to be more casual with Zoom. And just send people invites and say, hey, let's connect at 3 o'clock. Are you free? And they say yes. And I, instead of sending a calendar invite now, I send a Zoom invite. I sent it to their email and to their text because I don't know where they're going to connect with Zoom. But I'm trying to just do it more casually and quickly and not think so much about it, so that we can just quickly connect. Instead of saying, let me call you, I'll say, hey, I'll send you a Zoom invite. Let's talk at 4.
And I encourage whoever can to come on in with camera, and you know, I'll usually start my meetings that way. And you know, one of the things where I started 2 years ago with this virtual, and I'm learning more than ever now as I'm adding more, as all of our programs had to shift over virtually. But yeah, and it's just playing with it. Do some tutorials, you know, figure out how to best use it. I'm doing almost everything. Obviously, Toastmasters just went virtual. You know, so fun kind of stuff with that, where people are actually standing up and moving around in a presentation. Really interesting stuff. But
yeah, it's like everything you don't learn. You learn it by doing it. You know.
Oh, and I'm making up stuff as I go along too. Just so you know, I just had a Zoom with 43 of our top women honorees, and we pulled it together and made it up, kind of thing. And that's just what you do in times of crisis, right? And what's the expression, and excuse me for this, but yeah, make shit up. You know?
Yeah. I just think something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I just think.
If I can interject with that, this is Andrea. I just think that before you start a meeting on Zoom, one of the best things to just kind of say is, you know, hi, this is I'm calling you from blah, blah, blah. I apologize in advance. Just set the stage and say that I'm here to talk to you, but I just want to let you know that I have a 2-year-old. I don't, obviously, but if I had a 2-year-old, I have a 2-year-old who may interrupt. So I apologize in advance. Let's get started. So you sort of set the tone before you start. So you kind of announce it. And it's also very real that way. So you don't have to waste your time, apologizing. No one wants apologies.
True.
Yeah, and Angie, I agree with you. I've read that too in other places. It's really important to set the stage for where you are and what environment you're working in. You see with newscasters, there's no one more real than some of these guys now that are on TV instead of in their green rooms in front of their green screens. Their kids are crawling all over their heads and their dogs are barking and their fathers are walking in on them, putting on T-shirts and say, you know what, it doesn't diminish the news, but at least we know they're working from home. And they can keep moving forward. It's real.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, good, Andrea. Good point.
So we have just a couple minutes left. If anybody wants to add any last comments before we close out.
If I can add one. Sorry,
yes,
I'm talking.
Sure.
This is, okay, so I live in the world of image, so this is sort of my strong point. But also, I think that you don't want it to look too slick. You know, like Laurie, what you're doing is you're representing the whole organization.
Yeah.
And you are clearly marketing that organization, and you're a good representation of it. You are the face of it, so to speak. So your background is perfect. You know what I mean? I think that's great. But I think for a lot of us, this is not a slick moment. You know, maybe we're not doing slick. This is not a criticism of Laurie at all. I'm trying to move away from that because I think what you're doing is great. But we're not doing slick things right now. You know, what we're doing isn't slick. It wasn't something we planned. And to make it too slick right away takes that personal aspect that we're really benefiting from right now by being able to do these intimate. I think these are quite intimate, doing Zoom calls, more so than even having coffee. You can't be as distracted. No one's going to walk by and grab your attention in the same way, like, oh, this is so-and-so from blah, blah, blah. I think it's very intimate. You're inviting someone into your home, actually, at the same time you're inviting them into your office. And so it's a great opportunity to be real, and people connect when you're real rather than when you're slick. If that helps.
Great. Thank you for sharing. And thank you, Laura. Thank you, Michelle. Really great tips, advice. And this is what we do as a community of women. We support one another. And my message for you today is you're not alone. We're a community. And again, a big part of our mission is peer mentoring, which is exactly what we're doing here this afternoon, and learning from one another. So let's keep this up. Again, join us. All of our programming is virtual at this point. We invite you to come on, and we're not even, I mean, our program is generally for our members. We've waived any kind of guest fees or anything of that, because it's so important, especially in this time of crisis, that we are supporting one another. And we don't care right now that you're not a TCI member. We're all in this together, and we're all trying to figure it out at the same time. So aside from my message for you that you're not alone, my advice for you this weekend is shut your computer, close your office door if you have an office door, and take some time for you. And that's it. That's it. Have a wonderful weekend. Have some virtual happy hours. Relax, rejuvenate, and be back fresh for work next week. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
But if anyone has any questions
Thank
for any of
you.
us, reach out. Take care.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
please.
See everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.